that's a good reference point for you. We're going to put some polls out in a second as well, so I'll start those once Luke has said hello. So Luke, over to you.
Hi everyone. I'm as Hannah said, I'm Luke from 07 Heaven Marketing. We've been going 13 years and sort of seen quite a lot of changes through the marketing industry. We do and have done in our past every type of marketing that you can think of, I think, apart from TV marketing. So any questions you've got, please let me know. As Hannah said, I'd like normally when I haven't done one of these since the first lockdown. It's a bit different for me doing it on Zoom. I've attended a lot, but if you have any questions, please let me know. The structure of all of this is a case of I'll take you through kind of a little intro to everything, what the challenges of the lockdown has sort of caused, or if it has made any changes to what's going on, and also any of the kind of the potholes that we find that a lot of the clients that move across to us that we speak to, what's kind of tripped them up with previous people they've worked with, sort of things, sort of red flags to look out for, and how to get the sort of the most from your from what you're doing. Hopefully I've got two screens up. Hopefully you can just see the one slide. Hannah, can you just see that?
Yeah.
Perfect, that's fine.
So you've got the polls because I've made you host, I realise, so I can't kick them off. And we've got a question already, which is, it might be further on in the presentation, but in case they forget, do you think Google Ads work? So I don't know if you want to hold that for when you get to maybe a point later on, or if you want to tackle that one now, Luke.
So that's no problem, Kirsty. I will come to that. Part of one of the sections is the paid ads. But a quick answer is it really does depend on, yes, they do work ultimately, but it does depend on how you've got them set up. So a lot of people fall into the trap of just doing the Google ads and sending it to the homepage, which is the wrong way of doing it. So I'll go on to that in a bit later, but it's a very good question. So yeah, I've managed to get the Q&A, the questions up. So please keep them coming in as you get them, and I'll try and answer them. And if it needs a bit more explanation, then I'm sure Hannah will be able to let you have the mic. So just quickly to explain sort of the types of things that we do. We started 13 years ago when the internet was very new. We found a niche for ourselves locally and in Essex of combining good graphic design and functional websites. Apart from the big boys that are out there, you'll find that there's either they've come from a technical background or they've come from a sort of a design background, and we just combined the two. As we've gone, then the world of marketing, and once people started flocking to the internet, business followed, and that's really sort of with all this, with the social media that's changed, the Google search. Once people are there, businesses and the software find a way of being able to monetize it. So businesses follow where the crowds go. Which is why you've seen sort of different focuses on different social media. So we do all types of digital marketing, branding. So we still stay to our graphics roots as well. So we can look after we can do sort of logo design to your full branding, all types of different printing, video work. We host the websites as well. So literally, there's not really many things that we come up that we're kind of new to. So that's a bit about what we do. Our experience is 13 years. We're Google partners. We are on track to become a Google Premier Partner, which there's only 120 of in the country, which will be very exciting. HubSpot partner. So HubSpot's a marketing platform. I don't know if any of you have heard about it. but it's just a client relationship management system that also does a lot of extra things, and I'll sort of come on to that a bit later. We have a nice active blog, so if you ever have any questions or things like that, it's normally a good, nice resource, but we're constantly writing. We do at least 1 or 2 blog posts a week, so we're constantly out there searching for what's going on, what's changing. We speak to as part of being a Google partner, we get to speak to we have our own personal account manager, same with HubSpot, same with Facebook. So we're getting updates from those people quite a bit. We do a lot of presentations. Well, I did, and before the lockdown. So we're constantly not only dealing with our own clients, but also doing free talks. So we're getting a lot of questions and answers and things like that. So we get quite a lot of exposure to different companies. So I've built this. So this presentation is built around sort of the website, mainly because a lot of the digital marketing and where people fall foul is they feel that although each of the different types can act independently, the way to get the most out of them is to have them focusing in on pushing people to your website. The website should really be set up to inform and convert. So things to think about when you first get to when you've got to sort of look at your website, where we're going to be driving all these people to, is why do you have it? What's the purpose of the website? Why is it there? A big challenge for people is that they hear from other people, this works, but really no businesses are the same. And I'm sure when those that have worked in different offices and have managed different offices will know that the cultures are sometimes, even if you on the outside they look very similar, there's still sort of nuances to each of them. And the same is with the business. So really you have to understand why you want a website. And the most important thing is a lot of us have websites, but do you know it's working? So are you using your Google Analytics first and foremost? For those of you that don't know what Google Analytics is, it's a free piece of software that Google gives out freely, which basically tracks the interactions that people have with the website. It's a little confusing and it's a little hard to get your head around. There are other bits of software out there that make it a lot easier to digest, but that's a great place to start. But is the website working? So the key metrics for your website working are how many websites are coming, how many visitors are coming to see you, how many visitors are returning. So if you're offering something that's a repeatable, you can have repeat sales on. That's really good to measure. How long they're spending on your website. You might have heard of something called bounce rate. So bounce rates when someone comes onto your website, but they click straight off. You may have done it yourself when you're looking for a product. You go to a website because you think the link's one thing, you find out, you get to the website, it's something different, or you don't like the look of the website, or you don't feel safe, and you come off. Also, from a sort of an end point of view, are people contacting you through your website? Are you getting emails, even if it's just inquiries? A really, really big metric to track. Is it branded correctly? So this is usually with the smaller businesses you find this, but even with bigger businesses that we've dealt with, this is still something that's not present. What I mean by is it branded correctly? Are your logo colors the same on printed, on your letterhead, on your stationery, on your email signature as they are to the website? Are the flyers or the PDFs that you hand out or you send out, or the reports, are they the same colors as what you're using on the website? Are they the same design? Are they the same feel? Are you using the same tone of voice? So branding is really people just think logo, but your brand is what is your kind of promise. and your culture, and that's how you get that across. Another thing is a question to ask is, can you update your website? So a lot of people get websites built and then think, right, I've got my website built, I'll just leave it there. Websites have to be changed, have to be updated, and businesses evolve, businesses adapt. I mean, we've been put into a situation here where a lot of businesses have had to do, have had to shift where their focus is, and make quite quick, radical changes to be able to survive. So being able to update your website is a very important part of that, and also keeping people informed of your situation with COVID. Are the offices open? Are they closed? When we sort of come out of this tier 4 system, are they going to be back open? What's the support like? If you've got, if you've maybe selling a product or a service, where do they go to get information from if people aren't in the office? Or even if everything's running as normal, just to let them know everything's running as normal. So being able to update it is great, and updating it, having that power is useless if you don't actually spend some time updating it. So sort of the purpose of the website. So the biggest challenge is not having people talking. So there's a lot less conversations going on face to face. So in the business world, normally you'd have meetings, you'd bump into people, you'd be talking amongst in the office. And although some conversations were happening online before, at the moment, all conversations are happening digitally. So where people were relying on word of mouth to help spread, where businesses talk, people talk, and people would give personal recommendations, there's not that conversation going on anymore. So it's really, really important to start looking at generating leads from another source, and from other sources. So the website, as I mentioned at the start, is normally where we try to focus people to come, because it's always there. It's 24/7, and it gives the user, your potential clients, and the visitors, the ability to choose when they interact with you in a low pressure way. So they're not going to have to pick up the phone and worry that they're going to have to get put through to a salesperson or something like that. And to think of the website is in two ways. You want it to be informative and educational, so people can find out more about your services, but it also has to be set up to be able to convert and give them a nice, easy way when they're ready to be able to come through and make an inquiry. If you're selling products online, to be able to just do the whole thing and have a nice, smooth process of being able to purchase from you. So with how the world is at the moment, it's really important to make sure that website's set up in a way that you're causing the users as little friction as possible, because there's lots and lots of, whereas people would normally go to would just have a chat and they'd recommend someone. So you're buying a bit of trust that way. So because you get a recommendation or a referral, people are already bought into your company a little bit, and they're ready to buy you. Now, instead of picking up the phone, now what the people are doing is they're going online. With a lot of the reports are saying different timeframes, but sort of the general consensus is that the world digitally has now moved on 10 years further than what we would have been if we hadn't had this pandemic. And that's kind of the average of what people are saying. People have had to make sort of big shifts. So making sure your website is a good representation, it is informative so people can get all the answers to the questions that they normally ask, and it's set up to sell and convert is really, really important. So with marketing as a whole, the challenge is always to think of who are you targeting, why are you targeting, but who would you like to target? So think about who you're targeting in the moment, who you're aiming all of this at, and why you're aiming it at them. And is it just a case of you're just sending things out and just getting people in, and that's great. But what you want to do with marketing is really be focusing in on the person that you're that's your ideal customer, those great customers. We've all got them. Um, um, those people that cause you the least amount of hassle is great for a business. And it's really important that you increase those because they're not eating up extra bits of time. We've all had all dealt with clients and people that eat up a lot of time without giving a lot of value back. And so when you're doing this marketing, always think about the person that you're really focusing in on. A good way of doing this is just to create a persona. Again, I'm going to get these. I didn't say at the start, apologies, that you'll get a copy of these slides. So I'm happy to send these out. So that's just a tick list of things to think about when you're thinking about who this person is that you're aiming that you're marketing at. The buyer's journey, I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but basically it's the journey that someone takes to deal with, to become a client and then also a promoter. We use the term promoter as someone that's out there in the world, really, really pleased with your service and sort of telling other people about it. So I'm not sure because we weren't able to do the poll. And I don't want to pause for ages sorting it out. But sort of being all office managers, you'll have different levels of involvement within the marketing. But one thing that's really, really important that you will be involved in is once they have become a customer, every interaction with the company needs to be a positive one. And there's always opportunities to be able to upsell. So attracting people is about bringing people to your site or getting them to engage with content. Converting is about them taking that step where they either make a phone call or fill out an online form to get more information. Once you've got that contact, you can then use that information to be able to market to them however your sales team sees fit. And then once they've become purchased, they then become a customer or client, whichever terminology you prefer. And then the idea is to turn that person into a promoter. A really good book is called Raving Fans. I can't remember off the top of my head who it's from, who it's written by, but that's a really good thing for sort of you guys as office managers to really think about, because that's what we want. We want them to feel that the culture and the service and the products and the professionalism that they've bought into initially is continually reinforced, because that really helps move them from someone that's happy to buy from you to a promoter that's now actively spreading the word, but also very happy to sort of give that recommendation, and they come to you as a solution point. So I mentioned you don't want those customers that are wasting your time, but what you do want is you want to be seen as a problem solver for your clients. So for example, for us in our industry, I'll constantly get from the clients that we've managed to turn into promoters, they get any kind of technical problem, they'll give us a call and we'll be able to then if it's not something to do with marketing or sales or business support that we cover, I can then direct them to a point where I can recommend someone that we work with. And the beauty of that, and where that differs from someone constantly badgering you, is that that person trusts you to be able to solve that problem for them, and they're not causing a problem about the fact that they're going to have to pay for that. So you can then be seen as that reference point where you can pass them on.
Luke, sorry to interject. The polls should work still. It's just because you're host, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I know.
Can you see them?
I can see them, but I'm for some reason my double screen's being funny.
Okay.
I can see the polls. So what I will do is I will quickly do one of them right now.
Yeah.
About the area. Oh, sorry. Do you have already set them up? My apologies.
Yeah. You should, yeah. Hopefully, you can click and kick them off.
That's right, brilliant. I didn't realise they were set up. My apologies. Right, okay. So I'm just going to do a quick poll. So the first one is just to understand how comfortable you guys are with marketing. And the second one is just really to find out what kind of area that you're looking to get a bit of support on. So I'll send those across for you now. Which you should hopefully be able to see.
I used to be scared, for sure, but I think the lockdown's thrown me into having to do a bit more. So you'd have had at least one scared vote if it wasn't for lockdown.
I think that it has made people feel that they need to have a better understanding, most definitely.
Yeah.
But it's such a vast subject. I mean, I personally, I'm a bit more than a jack of all trades, and that's why we have experts, and we have a content creator, we have a graphic designer, we have a web developer, front end, back end, because all of this stuff, to be able to become experts in it, it just eats up so much time keeping on top of everything.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And talking of books that you recommend, I think I've still got the book you lent to me. I'm a book thief, I've realised. Luke lent me a book years ago, and I must confess I've read about 2 pages of it and I've still got it. What was it called? I can picture it was like a blue and white one.
E-Myth.
Yes, that was it. I've got it. It's on my bookshelf. I'll give it back to you. I promise.
I keep it. Just try and read it.
Yeah.
So people have come back and sort of know bits, okay-ish, comfortable, very comfortable, kind of a decent spread. We're going to go a bit more into the nitty-gritty of each of these. People have mentioned that sort of they're hoping to hear about the company website, SEO, social media is the biggest, and a bit about ads and some blogging as well. So that's cool. That's all going to be covered. But as I said, in each of the sections, when we're going through, just type a question out, and I'll answer it there and then. If it's a big one, then I'll answer it at the end. But there'll be a Q&A at the end, so please don't worry. And I'm going to kind of not whiz through the slides, but kind of go through them at a bit of a pace. But if there's any questions, shout. But I'd rather spend time answering specific questions that you guys have got, because this, as I said, the subject's so vast that I want to make sure that you guys have got some value out of today. So, website. So here's a nice tick sheet for you to be able to go through and make sure that your website has the bits that it needs to. When you're looking at your website, really, really important to think about how you use websites yourself, what makes you trust a website, what makes you not trust a website. For those that are responsible for sort of the website side of things for your business, it's very important, because people are still, even with how we've been thrust into this digital, even further into this digital age, people are still skeptical, and there are still those horror stories out there with products or services where people have bought and they haven't got what's been delivered. So making sure your website is trustworthy, having each of those bits is really important. So just to quickly go on one which I haven't actually further explained, which is a CTA. So CTA is a call to action. So your website, like the buyer's journey I showed you before, your website should be set up as a journey towards getting someone to fill out a form or give you a call. So for those of you that have small websites, that will be a contact page. For those of you that have bigger websites and bigger budgets, you'll be looking at having something called a landing page, which I'll go on to a bit later. But making sure all those bits are there is really important. With regards to the actual build, a content management system is really, really important. Being able to update yourself and easily update yourself. It's all well and good people and you having your web developer say that they can do it, but sometimes emergencies happen. And although it's a service we offer maintenance packages where we do updates for people, and we can also change text and do imagery. It all depends on your business model, but if that emergency happens, worst case scenario, or your web development company decide to go missing for a bit because they're working on a big project or something like that, you've always got the option to be able to update yourself. Having a blog, really, really important. We'll come on to blogging in a second because that's a question that people asked about. Making sure your page load times are as low as possible. That's really important for usability, but also coming on to the AdWords take it into account with the price that you pay. Having a contact form is a must. Live help is a really good way of doing it. There's a lot of free options out there, or a lot of cheap options, and it's just an extra way of being able to communicate with clients. Making sure it's responsive. Something that people really don't check enough is to make sure that actually it views well on tablets and mobiles. And if you've got an online an e-commerce store, having the checkout being easy is really important. Was there any further questions about websites or anything specific on websites at all from anyone? Right, okay, I'll move on to so SEO. So search engine optimization has been around for quite some time. There was lots of dark art tricks that you could do years ago, and basically you might have heard of all these different animals that Google uses for updates. What each of those does is basically getting rid of people that are trying to cheat the system. To give you a bit of background on Google's kind of premise is built on what they used to do with scientific papers. So in scientific papers, if you reference someone or an individual or their work, it would then give more weight to that person that you've recommends work. So the more that your work got recommended, the more weight you'd have. So therefore the more important your white paper or your scientific document would be. So Google works the same way. So those that come at the top are the ones that are getting lots of traffic, that are getting that have lots of pages on them, that are being changed and updated a lot. The pages run fast, people are linking towards them. So Google will give your page a score, and that gives you sort of the different, that's how the weighting system works. So a website like the BBC will be a 10, a brand spanking new website will be a 0. Now, if you can get links from, you might have heard of the term link building, which is to do with the search engine optimization. And basically what that means is getting other pages of higher rank to be able to link to your website to help raise your rank. It's one part of the search engine optimization, but it still always is an important part of it. Ways to do this, as we'll go on to with the blogging, but blogging's a really great way of doing that, because what people do is people will reference your blogs. If you've got nice imagery, people reference the imagery. The images will be able to be saved and searched and be available on Google if people are searching Google Images. Producing PDF documents that you make available online, so people can go through that. Google can search through those. So there's lots of different ways of helping your search engine optimization. The pitfalls that we find with people with search engine optimization is that people get promised, oh yeah, we can get you to number 1 in Google. Now, no one can guarantee what the first position in Google and getting to that place. Reason being is because Google constantly changing their algorithm but also it really is quite a budget dependent thing. So if you're doing the right things at the right time, but you're not doing enough, you're not doing as much as the person next to you, your competitor is going to be further along because they're producing two blog posts a week rather than to your one, they're getting two people to link to them instead of your one. So that's always a big worry sign, and it should always be a red flag. The usual kind of time frame is 3 to 6 months before you should start seeing some leads drop in from it. You should be able to start seeing some results. It definitely varies in regard to the different sectors you're in, and that's why keyword research is really important. So if someone says to you they need to do a keyword research, that's a really good sign, because what they're saying is they're going to research what key terms, so what people type into Google, and what words are best to start getting searched for. Another term to remember when sort of with the search engine optimization is long tail keyword. So a long tail keyword is not, say for example, office manager. It's professional office manager in London. So what you're doing is you're adding extra words, making the search more specific, so the search volume is lower, but the competition for that is also lower. So it means that you can sort of rank quicker for those types of words. Search engine optimization is really important, but it's something, it all depends on your budget, in my opinion, and how active the company is on their website, to whether it's a good idea to go forward with. But I'm quite happy to chat to anyone that's got any further questions about that. Did anyone have any questions about SEO? Okay. So there's a bit of information here that will go out with the slides about different keywords. Basically, you've got different stages of the funnel. We say top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, for marketing, and these are just the different stages of the types of keywords that people will use. Content creation is really important. So there's lots of different content bits that you can have on your website, and that kind of shows you and has a sort of ideas of things. If you're thinking of things to put on the website, that's just a good list of things. You'll get the slide. So I'll move on to blogging.
And you've got a question, Luke, on SEO. Someone's asked, is it really worth spending on SEO?
Sorry, is that on the chat?
It is, yeah.
My apologies, I've got the question thing up. So
and I suppose, does this tie into Google Ads, or would this be a different thing to answer Kirsty's question? Come back to that.
So Google's the Google Ads is in. For some reason it's not on here. The Google Ads I'll come on to after the social media, because it kind of ties in from that. Is it worth really spending on SEO? Yes, it is. But it's a long-term goal rather than a short-term goal. So if you're basically, not saying any of the companies are in trouble, but if your company is in trouble and you need leads quickly, SEO is not the way to go. SEO is a kind of a long-term plan that will give you better fruit, but it won't give you instant fruit. So that's probably, does that help, Kush?
And we've got another question as well, which is a paid SEO better than just going it alone?
So by paid SEO, do you mean sort of paying an external company? I'll take that as you do. If not, I'll cover that in the ads. So paying an external company is a good way to make sure that it's done consistently. So consistency with all types of marketing is really perfect. That's great, Kirsty. So the outsourcing it is a really good way of making sure that it's going and it's happening. But if you have a business that you really want to push on there, you want to work with the company that you're doing this with, rather than just relying on them solely. It normally takes a couple of months for someone or a month or two to really understand your business and your tone of voice and things like that. So if they're a good company, they're still going to need your input to be able to understand you guys. I think it is a good thing to outsource it because it keeps that consistency, but it's kind of much like with your management, it's a delegation, not an abdication. Don't go to the SEO route if you're looking for just to be able to pass it off and not worry about it. Blogging's a really good way of getting that search engine optimization stuff started. It's a great way for you guys as office managers, if you're dealing with the support side of things for the products or services that your company's offering. It's a really great way of you being able to cut down the amount of time you have to spend on the phone answering the same question over and over again. What you can do is firstly make sure it's available on your blog. If it's a if you do get a lot of questions, put an FAQ section on your web page, but also you'll then have that link as well to tell yourself that you've got, and also your support staff to be able to share that. And if you work in something where there's a lot of sort of technical points and things like that, it's a really good way of you being able to speak to the technical team, get them to be able to tell you that information, create a blog about it. That article, news article, there's lots of different terms for it, but get them to check that you've got everything right for that. Then you've got that to always be able to on your website so people can search and find it, but also so you and the team. So if anyone calls up to ask about it, you can say, yeah, that's no problem. We've got a really good article about that on our website. Let me send that through. And if you have any further questions, please let me know. So the blog works in lots of really good ways. Google loves to see that you're increasing the amount of pages on your website. And it also gives you more chance of having pages that have keywords in the titles. So blogs are really great. Best way for blogs is to be sort of 600 words or more if you're looking for them to be found online. But if they're just there for reference and there to help you guys, any length's fine. And the best way to go about creating blogging content, if you have run out of sort of frequently asked questions at work, sorry, so Sandy's just asked the question, so I'll just answer that in a second. So really the best way to go about creating is to make sure you've got a blog on your website first of all. Big no here, guys. If you're gonna get a blog, make sure it's updated. The biggest way to turn a person off of your company and to make it seem unprofessional is to have a blog that's not been updated. So with the blog, you firstly just frequently asked questions, anything any other information that you normally hand out, any questions that you get asked, are all really good places to start. Other than that, it's updates to your industry, things like that, and your opinions on things. Now, don't go too mad with your opinions, but give a balanced argument so you're giving both sides, and then you can give an educated opinion at the end. The way to do it is to think of create the article first, then go back and review that top paragraph. It should be 2 to 3 lines, that top paragraph, and that should be your hook that makes people want to read. And then at the end, you'll go back and look at your title and make sure your title really grabs people, but isn't a term that's used quite a lot called clickbait. And clickbait is basically you putting something like, you may see it, you can't believe what these celebrities look like now, or something like that, where you click on it and it doesn't show you anything. It just has lots of text and lots of different pages, and that's called clickbait. To answer Sandy's question, how is money made from doing blog websites? So blogging websites, what happens is firstly, the amount of traffic that once they start generating a lot of traffic and a big following, it's very much the same way as what like kind of the Instagram influence have evolved into, and the YouTube people, is that firstly, people will pay to advertise on your site, as in just have a link on your website. For Google, you can do something called display ads, which is part of their AdWords. So you just basically section off a part of your website, and Google will pay you for that section of the website, depending on the amount of traffic that comes through. Second way is if you've got a really big blog that people want, that people follow, you can do a sort of advertorial about products. And you can also be paid to guest blog on other people's blog posts. And also another way of making money is you get sent a load of free things. For example, Mrs. Hinch is a big one. And someone that I know that a company we dealt with and we've been dealing with for years, and we went to help them out just before just as the crisis started. And they've been trying to send loads of freebies and like free stuff to Mrs. Hinch, but they had no following themselves and all this kind of stuff. So we sort of went through all that with them. But the amount of free stuff you get from things that also then stops you having to pay for things, buy things. So does that answer your question, Sandy? Perfect. Brilliant. So next is social media. So social media is a big vast. I mean, with all of this, I've done hour talks on social media. I've done an hour talk on Facebook individually. So all these things are quite vast. But the things to bear in mind with social media is Google likes to see that you're posting on everything. And from our perspective and from yours, when you do it, it doesn't take that much extra time just to copy and paste what you've done over to a different platform. Now, some of them need slight adjustments because, say, for instance, on Instagram, you can only post a picture. You can post a bit of text, but you can't post any links. On Twitter, you've got a certain amount of characters that you're allowed to use. LinkedIn's very different tonally to Facebook. So what we recommend is look where your audience is. So if the type of people you want to, if you're in a professional environment, say for instance you're the office manager of a recruitment company, LinkedIn's going to be the way to go. So you're going to concentrate on LinkedIn. But what you can do is then just copy and paste whatever you put onto LinkedIn onto those other areas. Now, they're not going to be perfect for the other areas. They're not going to be written in probably the tone that people want to read on that. But it ticks a nice box. And if anyone does go on there, again, you've got the activity. And so that if people do go to it, that you are looking as if you're posting and you're keeping things up to date. So example for us, LinkedIn works really well. Instagram's starting to come good. And Facebook and Twitter isn't really of an interest for us, but we post on there just to keep things ticking along. Best thing to realize with social media is that if you're not monitoring what you're doing and you're not monitoring how people are discussing your company, people are going to be having conversations without you. And it's really important to make sure that you are monitoring what people are saying about you. So a good example of this is and a good place to start is the Google reviews. So claiming your business on Google. So, when you do a search and you've got your search items down the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side, you've got the business normally comes up. So if you search for a particular business, the business will come up on the right, and it will give you the stars of the Google reviews. Sometimes if your Facebook account's linked or they find your Facebook, they'll put the Facebook stars on there. If you've got any of these sort of Trustpilot or anything like this, they'll also be on there. So the best place to look and start trying to sort of monitor is keep an eye on there. We had one company that had 1.5 stars and 20 reviews, mainly because one of their managers had been not treating the staff. It was a factory, and one of the staff managers hadn't been treating some of the people well, and they'd just been going on Google review and sort of slamming the company. Now, they weren't saying anything damaging about the products, but they were damaging the reputation of the business. I think one of the big challenges going sort of into this year is people are becoming more socially aware. So how your office environment is also going to be taken into account. So really important to make sure that your social media is portraying a positive energy, and also you're monitoring what's going on. I don't have, for some reason, the slides. I've picked the wrong one, so the slides haven't got in for AdWords. But when I send it out, I have the slide in there for AdWords. So Google Ads, and you've also now got Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Instagram ads are connected to Facebook because they're the same company, and you've also got Bing ads. So to go back to Kirsty's question. Do I think Google Ads work? Now, Google Ads are kind of the opposite solution to the SEO is. So Google Ads, the beauty of Google Ads is you can get yourself found very quickly. So you can generate a lot of traffic to your website, which will allow you to be able to start selling and start having conversations. Now, it is costly, so you do pay for each click, and once you've paid for that click, that money, you're never going to get that money back. And then sort of as a contrast, it's, so for instance, if you pay someone to do a blog for you, that blog's always going to be there forever, as long as you have your website up. So whereas you get the long time with the blog, or with a social post, or with the sort of the search engine optimization techniques, with the Google Ads, you just get that one hit. But what it does mean is it's really easy to track, and it's very simple to get yourself to the top. So for those that don't know how Google Ads work, it's basically like a bidding system. So what you'll do is you'll say, I'm willing to pay, I have a budget of X amount for, say, £10 or £100 for a day, and I want to target these keywords. Now, what Google will do is look at they'll look at the ads and the copy that you've used and the content of the ads, and then they'll look at the page that you're linking to. So a big thing that we find is that a lot of people just decide to link to their homepage. Now, everyone's homepage should be built to accept people that are coming in, but if you're paying for that person and that person has clicked, normally 9 times out of 10 they're part way through the buying journey. So you want to send them to something called a landing page. Now, a landing page is a page of the website that's linked to those ads, as in the wording's the same, and it just sort of encourages someone to fill out a form or to give a number a call. The reason for doing this is you're paying for you're paying for that click. So what you want to make sure is happening is that person's going through to a page that's then going to encourage them to convert and pass on their details to the sales team. So if you've got something like that set up, Google Ads works, and it works very well. Our highest budget is someone that pays just over £50,000 a month to Google to get their AdWords in. They're an investment company. And they've been doing that now since October, not last year, the year before. They get fantastic returns from it. So much so, I mean, they didn't start off with that amount. They started with 5 and they built up to that. So if you're doing it right and you've got the right product, then yes, it's a really good way to go. But you've got to look at how much budget you need and the profit margins and what you need to make a return on that. But if you get a good keyword report done, that will tell you the keywords that you need to target or start targeting. And then also the price that you would pay and the budget they would suggest for each of those keywords for you to be able to be found. And how the hierarchy works is it's like a bidding system, but with a couple of nuances to it. So basically, whoever bids the most gets to the top, whoever bids second gets second. But what Google will take into account is how good your website is. So if you have a great website and it thinks your website, your landing page, or the page that link goes to corresponds with the ad. So say, for instance, with our investment, it's renewable energy investments. And it's a listed bond. So we're able to put that in the title. So when they go through to a renewable energy listed bond landing page, Google can see that they're both connected. There's no misleading people, so that actually we don't pay as much as someone that if someone wanted to mislead someone, they may not get that ad out there, but even if they do, they'll be paying more than us to bid. So basically your bid is worth more if you're being honest and open to the people that you're searching for. But yeah, Google Ads is a really really good way of getting business in initially. With people with a reasonable size budget, what we'll probably recommend to them is a mixture of search engine optimization and AdWords. But yeah. Yeah, no problem, Kirsty. I hope that answered your question. But yeah, it really just depends. The thing to look at is how much it's going to cost you versus what profit your company can make from it. Is the answer. So calls to action are a good thing to have on the website. They're basically what they do is they direct people through your website. And they get people to take action. This is sort of the bit at the bottom there is a call to action to get someone to go through to one of those landing pages that I spoke about. But a call to action is anything from call us now, read more, learn more, submit. But when you're doing these calls to action, make sure the wording is there to empower people to take action. So submit isn't really as good as send. So it's kind of inquire now. They're all sort of more powerful wordings that will encourage people to do more. So click here to book rather than click here. It's that type of thing. So there's a bit of information here about landing pages. If anyone needs anything more, I can direct you to a couple that we've done. But what should be removed from there, I mean, a big thing I missed out when I was discussing them, is you don't want links to anywhere else on your website. So once you've got them to this page, we want to keep them on this page and not have them distracted. So for example, if you've got a Twitter feed on your website, you would take that off. If you've got your social links, you'd take that off. Your top navigation, you would take that off. So basically the only way they would be able to get to the homepage would be if they clicked on the logo of your website and went back to the homepage that way. That's just sort of the usual practice. Normally having a pop-up form is really, really good as well. And then once that form's been filled out, it's really helpful to have a thank you page afterwards. So what the thank you page does basically is it tells them that how long you're going to take to respond, but also can then show them the next stages of their journey. So say for instance, if they've inquired about for instance, with us, if they've inquired about something to do for some more information on social media, we would then put blog on that page. We'd have blog posts that were to do with social media so that they could find out more information between the time that we get to give them a call. Email marketing is really, really good if done correctly. People ask a lot if that's dead because of GDPR and spamming and things like that. But there's lots of ways to cultivate lists. Instagram is a really good way because lots of people have data on there. And although it's not good to send cold emails out, as long as they're interested in that subject and they could possibly have an interest in buying, then it's worthwhile. We're seeing some really good results from sort of our email campaigns, and we've worked with a gym that's just launched a 14-day free transformation package, which is basically we've done through MailChimp, and it sends them an email in the morning with the tasks they've got to do, and then a nice recap email at the end, sort of inviting them to email back. And that they've already had a 5% dropout only of people, and they've got there's a few more days left on it. Which we're really pleased with, but they've also had a 20% uptake of a paid for service already before we've even sent the more sales-led emails. So it's a really good way of still doing things. different types of things that you can share, like via social media, and what kind of different stages of the buyer's journey that they're up to. With all your marketing, make sure a big challenge we always see is, especially when we come in, if there's a sales team and a marketing team, is they've got to be working together. They're the same thing. Although they do different stages of it, you've got to have them working together. So any questions, or if you're in charge of anything, if the marketing team is normally the one that handles the website, but the sales team need to be involved as well, because you need to know what you're collecting from them. Here's a bit more information about the lighting. As I mentioned before, as office managers, this is a really big part that you can get involved in, no matter how much influence you have on the marketing side of things, is to make sure that every touch point to do with your business, the business that you look after, or if it's your own business, is to make sure that that's a positive thing. A big thing that we found. We've just recently taken over a really, really high-end dog grooming, and they've just launched an online store, and they needed it upgraded. So we've come in to sort of help them with that and help them get there. And they do this lovely packaging. I sort of did a mystery shopper I bought from them for my dog for Christmas. They do a lovely package, but what the big thing that people forget is it's not just that me dealing with that and me opening that package. It's also the person delivering it. So if you're using a person in a battered old van that just slings it over the fence, that's going to affect how people perceive your product. Now, it's not your business per se, but it's still part of your customer journey. So it's definitely something to always consider, all the touch points that you have. I appreciate we're sort of 5 minutes over, so apologies about that. As I said, it's a really, really vast subject. I'm happy to do as many of these. If you want to have a specific one on search engine optimization, on AdWords, where I really go into some detail about it, more than happy to offer any help that we can. This was just kind of the first one that we've done since joining. So I wanted to just give a sort of an overview, especially as sort of what everyone was interested in was so spread out. But yeah, so does anyone have any questions at all?
Thank you so much, Luke. I've just asked everybody, and you can raise your hands if you want, for people left on the call, because I know a few people have had to drop off at 3. But if it would help, then as Luke said, he can do some more on some of the specifics like AdWords and social media. So raise your hand or drop me an email, drop Luke an email, and let us know what would be helpful to you, because that's the purpose of these, and for having Luke as a partner, as an expert in this area. Okay. Any questions from anybody? Fine. All right. Well, thank you so much, Luke. I think that was really helpful. You know, there's, like you said, there's so much covering marketing. It really does blow your mind when you start looking into it. And to have that high level overview and some of your opinion on some of those areas as well is really, really helpful. So thank you very much for that. And thank you to everybody for joining us. Yeah, we've got some feedback coming in. Social media and blogging and landing pages would be a good one. So Luke and I'll have a chat and yeah, come up with some new dates for you to dive into some more areas.
But if there's anything urgent, guys, you're more than welcome to get in touch. Hannah's got all my details, so if you just ask her, but I'll be sending out the presentation anyway. But thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon, everybody.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye.